Hello everybody and welcome to the Narrative Dossier in English. And today we're talking about the mortgage scandal in the United States. Please note, what I'm telling you here, I'm telling you from a right-wing perspective. I also get my information from right-wing news sources. And what I'm telling you here may change or be adjusted in the future when new information comes in. Today we're talking about Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, and Adam Schiff, Senator of California. Anyone who followed US politics in 2016 knows the start of Donald Trump's first term. But with it came the terrible attacks from the media and the Democrats, who pulled out all the stops to delegitimize him. One senator stood out, back then he was a congressman, and despite everything, he insisted that the Russia hoax was real. At the time, he was Congressman Adam Schiff and chair of the Intel Committee. By his own admission, he had information the general public was unaware of. He even had the audacity to appear on Tucker Carlson's show on December 7, 2016 and shamelessly say that Vladimir Putin had won the election for Trump. However, when Carlson asked if he wanted to say all that directly on camera, he spouted a rather word salad like he did not want to admit it, as most politicians do. In retrospect, this all turned out to be a bunch of garbage. Despite everything, now that the truth has come out and it turned out that Russia wasn't even given the opportunity to sabotage the election, Schiff was still elected as a senator to the great state of California. It was recently announced that a criminal investigation has been launched into Adam Schiff for mortgage fraud. At first you might think, what is that? And why is it important? I'll quote what was said in simple terms. The investigation began a month after the story broke that the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA, sent a criminal complaint to the Department of Justice, to the DOJ. It alleged that Schiff had falsified bank documents and property records on multiple occasions to obtain more favorable loan terms. Since he's from California, you'd think he'd own a house there and a taxpayer-funded rental in Maryland. However, he didn't rent a house in Maryland, he bought a home there. Worse still, he declared his Maryland home his primary residence and his California home his second home. Now you might think that's not really important, but actually it is. Mortgage fraud exists in the US and you can get 30 years for it. Schiff should have known better, though, since he's a lawyer as well as a senator. Since he's a senator from California, his primary residence should have been from that state. In May 2025, the FHFA director sent a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, reporting alleged misconduct by Schiff. He stated the following in that letter. According to media reports, Mr. Adam B. Schiff falsified bank documents and property records on multiple occasions to obtain more favorable loan terms, affecting payments on a home in Potomac, Maryland, between 2003 and 2019. FHFA Director William Pulte wrote in the letter, as a regular of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the Federal Home Loan Banks, we take allegations of mortgage fraud or other criminal activity very seriously. Such misconduct jeopardizes the safety and soundness of the entities regulated by the FHFA and the safety and stability of the US mortgage market. But that's not all. Recently, a report emerged that Schiff had approved a plan in 2017 to leak documents to damage President Donald Trump. This whistleblower was a Democratic insider who had worked for the Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee for 10 years. Evidence of this has also been turned over from the FBI to the DOJ. So he's also facing an investigation into that. In short, Adam Schiff is in deep Schiff. He could even face up to 30 years in prison, and that's just for the mortgage fraud. Now on to another individual who is also in trouble, Letitia James. For those unfamiliar with Letitia James, she is a prosecutor of the worst kind. She ran her campaign solely on the basis of prosecuting Trump. She sued him with a distorted understanding of the law. The lawsuit became so absurd that his property, Mar-a-Lago, was assessed at $18 million. It became clear in court that the land on which Mar-a-Lago stood was worth far more just by looking at the land adjacent to it. Deutsche Bank confirmed this. But even after experts offered their opinions and assessments, the judge ruled that he knew better and left the assessment at $18 million and incidentally, the judge ignored all further testimony and imposed a $474 million bond on Trump. So he tried to ruin him financially. It's now in the appeal court, but even though they've severely reprimanded the attorney from the Attorney General Office of New York, they still haven't thrown the case out. Keep in mind, it's still unclear what Trump was actually convicted of. Trump had a conversation with Kathy Hochul about money to New York, in which he reportedly allegedly said, "Remember, I control the courts." That might be the reason it takes so long for the appeal courts to throw it out, because Kathy Hochul is holding it up. She denies it now, but if it were true, you can imagine how fiercely the political game is being played. In 2024, Trump won the election for his second term, and this wouldn't be like his first term. No mercy this time. As the Klingons say, revenge is a dish best served cold. But is it also revenge if you have proof? Then it's more like justice than anything else. On May 8th, it was announced that the FBI had launched an investigation into Letitia James, also for mortgage fraud, and her case was even more serious than Schiff's. In one document, she claimed her father was her husband. In another, she claimed the purchase of a larger property at only 4 floors instead of 5. And in another case, perhaps the most serious, she also claimed her Virginia home was her primary residence, while she was AG of New York and it was mandatory for her to reside in New York. All this to obtain better loan terms. Another big deal in the US, punishable by a maximum prison sentence of 30 years. In several interviews, she indicated that these charges were baseless. But Mr. Pulte of the FHFA doesn't make criminal referrals likely. James is now also shouting from the rooftops that this is a political persecution. That may be true, but on the other hand, if you committed a crime and there's evidence, then it is justice. However, there's a strange twist. Hochul tried to give James $10 million, which was taxpayer money. But this could only be released if it was a business matter related to her profession. In this case, it was a personal matter. So the Republicans in New York have now blocked this. And that's quite problematic for her, since she has one of the most expensive and best lawyers in New York. James is currently facing 3 investigations, not just for mortgage fraud, but also because of the deprivation of the rights of the citizens at that time named Donald Trump. And another very interesting point. She was only prosecuting Trump, but that meant other crimes were overlooked. She's also being investigated for whether countries on the sanctions list were able to launder money by using a bank in New York. She took no action against this, which is also a serious matter, since sanctions were in place against these countries. She was clearly aware of this. This is all allegedly, of course. Both Letitia James and Adam Schiff threw stones into a glass house, and that will now be their downfall. When the official charges will be filed is still unknown, but the DOJ is very busy gathering all the evidence. Vice President J.D. Vance has also indicated that charges will be filed, but whether they will be against these two is still unclear. What is certain is that we can buy some popcorn and just enjoy the show. As always, if you like this video, please subscribe and sign up. Ciao.